Before we begin the episode, I would like to thank our sponsor, Chin Up Goggles, the new generation of vision training. Its simplistic design eliminates downward vision, improving a player's spatial awareness, anticipation, skill acquisition and execution. The findings have been supported by scientific research in CIT, now MTU. Be sure to visit chinupgoggles.com for more. Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 104, I'm delighted to be joined by Irish senior men's assistant head coach, former Davidson Wildcat and former professional basketball player Puff Summers. We discuss his journey from growing up in the United States, attending Division 1 Davidson College, pursuing professional contracts, Irish basketball and so much more. I hope you enjoy. Hey Puff, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've been waiting. This is episode what? Episode like
100 and something.
Yeah, see, I've been waiting a long time for my invite, so thank you for having me.
No, of course. For anyone that doesn't know you, there's probably more people in the non-Irish, like they're not in the basketball community. Can you kind of give a quick 30-second intro to who you are and what you do?
So Puff Summers is my name. Lawrence is my birth name, but everybody calls me Puff. I am an American player, retired player now. I've been here since 2007. I played at Davidson College, pre-Steph Curry. I have to let people know that. But I'm now the assistant coach with the national team with Ireland, the Irish senior team, and run my own basketball business development company called Why Not Me Hoops. And I'm just kind of a basketball guy. Anything basketball, I'm around. So. It's going to be a lot of basketball talk, so I apologize to all the non-basketball people out there, but hopefully they get something out of it anyway.
I love the way to mention the pre-Steph Curry era. Can you describe the change in what it was like? Because you knew Davidson basketball before he was there to what it is now. I even saw like his they call it 3 out of 3, where they did his jersey retirement, graduation ceremony, and Hall of Fame. I think they did it in Davidson for him the other day. Can you describe kind of the shift in, even like it's become a kind of a worldwide brand, really?
I think the shift is more, the recognition that Davidson got. It's not so much been a shift of the way they do things or the way they prepare, or just the player development stuff that we did before. Steph kind of came and enhanced it. Obviously, he's going to enhance any program he goes to, but it's just the visibility that Davidson had after Steph just kind of went off the scales. We were always a school that brought a lot of European players in, but we had a lot of international players even when I was there. I think I had a Finnish roommate. We had a guy from England, a guy from Turkey, Congo.
Wow.
It was everywhere. Our team was very, very. Michael Bree was there. He was a senior, Irish point guard when I was a freshman, and then I graduated with Connor Grace, another Irish guy. So we had Kenny Grant, who was from New York but played on the Swedish national team. So we had just had a plethora of international players there. So just learning how to play basketball and learning how to play kind of the international style of basketball was always a Davidson thing. And then you add a Steph Curry to that and kind of give him a green light to play within this European style based system. It's and then now Davidson is what it is and Steph is what he is.
Yeah, exactly. Can you describe kind of growing up for kind of, and as you're describing it, kind of compare it to what you see in Irish basketball, kind of that high school level, us in secondary school? How many times are you training a day compared to kids in here?
So when I was growing up, it was every day. High school practice, like even middle school practice. So middle school, just put in perspective, is the equivalent of like first and second year in primary school or in secondary school here. So Middle school, 7th and 8th grade for us, that was the first introduction to school basketball, really, a school team. So we practiced every day after school. And then we'd also play AAU during the summers, which is, I guess, the closest equivalent to what club basketball is here, but just a little bit different. So, there were tournaments every weekend. And there was practice every day for that as well. So, it's kind of a full-time thing once you choose to play basketball. Like, obviously, when you're in school, you'll play basketball for one semester or one season, and then you'll have another season, say football season or another season, baseball season, whatever it is. So whatever sport you're doing for that time, you're doing it every day. And then for pretty serious basketball programs in the high school level, they're going year round. So even if you're in football season, you're still having basketball workouts in the morning or strength and conditioning stuff in the mornings, and just kind of staying on top of it there. It's a full time thing, you know. It's just a bit of a different culture that I think Ireland is shifting towards. You know, basketball players are still doing a lot of stuff in the off season, even if they are playing Gaelic or hurling or whatever else they're doing in the off season. Basketball is still on their mind, you know. So it is a bit of a shift happening in Ireland.
Just you speaking of hurling, how did you get basketball into the hurling god of, or the school of hurling in Ireland?
Yeah, it's in St. Karen's. It's yeah, it's hurling is the baby there. And it's funny, and I've told this story a few times, but they literally had me come in and do 6 weeks of PE sessions with their first years, and you know I just do a lot of physical literacy stuff to start, a little bit of ball handling, a little bit of shooting, and a lot of playing and just trying to introduce the game to kids. And one of the days I just had the tennis balls. We were just doing tennis ball handling drills, and I could just see all the PE teachers' eyes just light up as soon as they were catching a tennis ball while they were dribbling a basketball, and they were like, "Oh, this is very similar to the skills they need for hurling." And in my back of my head, I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you know, I'm just trying to
I
avoid the
roll that hurling stuff.
yeah, because I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but I'm also not trying to equate it and be like, you know, the things that I'm teaching are going to help you in hurling. But you know, they were happy with it, and the kids loved it. So that was kind of my end to St. Karen's, and I've been coaching first and second years there ever since. So it was pretty cool.
Okay, very good. For you, Puff, why basketball? Why did you fall in love with the game? And can you remember that? Was there a specific moment where you kind of said, this is really for me? Or was it kind of like a long term kind of process?
It's a hard question. I feel like it's a bit of a loaded question because I think you know you do something and you love it for so long and it becomes so much a part of your life that you can't really remember a time when it wasn't a part of your life. You know what I mean? So I know I started playing at a really young age, uh, and I always loved it. But I think the thing that pushed me over the edge was when I was 10, when I was 10 or 11, my parents got divorced, and my dad moved out, and then it was kind of like, you know, this young boy searching for like a meaning and something to make him feel a little bit better. And it started off, it was just kind of going out and shooting. Um, and basketball was always kind of something that my dad did with me and my brother. So it was just kind of going out and shooting and just kind of, you know, letting off some steam. And from there, it was kind of competing with yourself a little bit, seeing if you can make five in a row, six in a row. And then I just got hooked. Then I started pretending that I was playing against my dad when I was making moves and like we used to when he was there. And that kind of got me through some rough days, just imagining that he was still there with me. You know what I mean? And then from there, it just kind of became, and it's kind of a mentality that I started having was just that whole, you know, you versus you mentality, just being there and competing against yourself and not caring what anybody else said or what else was going on. And from that, it just grew into this obsession with wanting to just be better than I was yesterday, you know? So, you know, it started from, you know, a tragedy, I guess, a bit of a tragedy in my life. And you know, basketball kind of turned that tragedy around and it became positive for me.
Because I think I saw that on, I think it was Orla O'Reilly's interview of Basketball Ireland. It was, she kind of wrote a kind of a bit of a mini paragraph on it and kind of said, you know, it's not about, she said, it's not about something else, but it's about you versus you. And that really hit home with me. And I know you have that actually printed on your
Yeah.
camp t shirts. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you have that motto, and you actually have a couple of other mottos that you use probably with players as well when you're trying to develop them.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of become just a thing that I do. That every camp I put a new motto or quote on it. I'm kind of running out of quotes now. I've had so many camps and T-shirts, but it's you know, and I think a lot of coaches speak in cliche a lot of times when they're coaching or training players, but just the things that I put on T-shirts are just kind of the ways that I try to live and try to teach the game. So you know, one of them, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You know, that's a big one. And then you know, another one is like process driven. Everything is process driven, which has become a bit of a cliche in sports as well, but it's
Yeah,
something.
thanks to the 76ers.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll, you know, I'm sure we'll probably touch base on that at some other point in this podcast when you ask me questions talking about process and what the process is and what it looks like or whatever. But the things that I try to go with over and over to the players that I work with is just that, like, it's not the destination ever. It's not about, making this team or getting playing time for this coach. It's about just loving the process of being in the gym and doing it over and over and over again and trying to challenge yourself for that,
Mm.
so yeah, that's yeah.
When you're speaking to players and you're giving them advice, is there anything that young players should? Is there any advice that young players should ignore? Is there anything you've heard, or is there anything that you kind of see kids doing that you're like, avoid that? That's not where you need to go down. Is there anything that kind of comes to your mind when you hear that?
Clout, social media clout. That's what it is. Social media clout. Like, it's the worst thing in basketball that I've seen. And I think we all adhere to it. Like, sometimes when you and I feel like I don't get, like, I'll post 15 times in a day and just not care. I don't care about the likes. I don't care about the views. I just post it because I want to post it, or I post it because I want to teach something, or I'll post it because I think my daughter's cute and I want to share that with my people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a damn about who sees or whatever. But I think there are also some posts that you look at and it's like, oh, this is really cool. And then it doesn't get as much recognition as you thought it was going to get. And then in your head, it's like, oh man, maybe that wasn't cool. You start second guessing, like, the stuff that you love and the stuff that you post just because somebody else didn't recognize it. And, I'm a grown man doing that still sometimes. So I know that, imagine a 15 or 16-year-old who posts something are so caught up on their image and what people are thinking of you. So I think the more kids can get away from that and do the things that they enjoy without, thinking about what the backlash of what somebody else thinks about it is, or, you know what I mean? Like, the way the kids work out, we work out a certain way or we act a certain way around people because that's what makes people think that I'm cool. At some point, we have to understand that working hard and not giving a damn what people think is actually the cool thing. You know what I mean? I know when we went away from that being the cool thing, but I see it all the time, and it's just, you know, uh, any advice that I can try to give to young players, especially the young Irish players who are kind of put a bit on a pedestal because they have set themselves apart from the rest of their people in basketball, is that it's still cool to work hard. It's still cool to be the person who gets their ankles broken and gets up and keeps rocking. It's still cool to go in there and try to dunk it even if you miss it. Like, so yeah, just getting away from the clout and whatever, thinking that people actually give a damn about you. You know what I mean? Like, because they don't. Like, they might laugh at you for a second and then they'll go laugh at the next clickbait. So that's just that's the biggest thing that I see, and I'm trying to emphasize that with my daughter. Like, don't care so much what people are thinking about you and just rock in your own way. Dance like nobody's watching. It's a quote that Coach McKillop used to use all the time. Dance like nobody's watching. And I try to kind of live like that and pass that along to the next generation of players.
I love that. I was going to ask you actually about Coach McKillop. What was he like? Obviously at Davidson, how did you find him as a coach and kind of going into that system? And I can see you're only smiling there. Describe what it was like to be under him as a player.
Nuts, man. Nuts, intense all the time. Like, so in college, it was like we had this strenuous kind of strength conditioning program that we had to do for the summer. And as a point guard and somebody always trying to win his favor over, I used to always make sure that I was like over prepared, as far as conditioning wise. And so I would do so much in the summertime to make sure I was prepared for the next season. And it didn't matter. So whatever I did in the summertime, the first workout that I had with Coach McKillop, like every year, was like I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I didn't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, I could have workouts with the other assistant coaches and I'd be fine. And then the first workout when he was in the gym, like within the first 10 minutes, I was just like, I haven't done anything this summer. And I just think he just has this aura about him that he always, like, understood what you were capable of. He understood how to get you to the next level. And he always kind of made you feel uncomfortable, and he knew how to get you to that level of uncomfortableness. You know what I mean? So that's the best way that I can describe him. Like, it was always like, he makes me want to be or do or know that I have to get to a next level. And I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it because he just always made me feel like I wasn't in shape or I wasn't hitting enough shots. And not in a bad way, but in a way to be like, all right, I'm gonna come here and do a little bit extra because I know I gotta do that.
So rather than kind of making you, feel bad about yourself, that, when you're puffing and puffing through the first session of the year, it's kind of
Hmm.
more inspiring you to say, geez, I better go work harder now.
Yeah, every day. And I think, that's the part of his genius is that he recruits kids who all feel this way. It was never taken as a negative. It was always like, I've bought into this program and I know like what the success you've had before is. And obviously they see that even more now that Steph has been there and came through that program. But it's like I know what you build as players. I know how many pros that you've produced here. So if you're telling me to run through this wall for you, I'm gonna run through this wall for you. And he just had an innate ability to make everybody feel that way. And I didn't play that much in college. I was like 11th, 12th man, and I felt as much like that as a Steph Curry would have felt. You know what I mean? It was the same. Like he made us all feel the same.
How did he do that out of interest? Kind of reflecting back, being a coach now, can you see the little intangibles that he did to make you feel like that?
Yeah, it's just the little things like when he sees you on campus, he used to jog a lot. He'd be jogging all the time. But if he saw you in campus, he would stop his jog and he'd come over and talk to you. And he knew everybody's schedule, so he'd come and ask you, how your economics class was this morning, which you never wanted to be like, oh, I actually didn't go to that, coach. You know what I mean? So it was like it was just a constant accountability with him all the time. But he was always asking questions, wanting to know about your life, how your mom was doing, how your brother and sister were doing in school. It just made you feel a part of things, like if you like, especially when it got to kind of February where you really weren't playing a lot of minutes and it was late in the season and you don't really practice that much when it gets to that stage of the season. It's kind of like walk through stuff, go watch film, get some shots up because we have 2 or 3 games in a week. But it's, when guys were struggling who weren't getting minutes, he would always just say things and let you know that you were still important and that you felt important. Yeah, like it's an art form that I'm pretty good at relating to people, and I think because I was that bench guy, and I've been in situations where I've been like the man and been the main player on teams. I have this different perspective that I know what everybody feels like at certain times of the season.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Out of interest, then, there's a kind of a saying that we have the same style of coaching when we're coaching. So when I'm coaching football, and apparently I coach it the way I've been coached. Don't
Mm-hmm.
fully agree with that. Do you agree with that? Can you see similarities between what you and maybe Coach McKillop or any sort of coach that you've had maybe in your professional career?
I think as a young coach, like yes, like you're always gonna do the way you've been taught because it's kind of human nature, isn't it? Like you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna do the 3-man weave because my under 10 coach did 3-man weave for an hour. Like okay, fine. But then as you get older and you get a little bit more mature and you kind of have enough coaches where you can kind of suss through the BS. It gets to the stage where, and now I know I'm 100% like this. I coach how I would have wanted to be coached. Like I do things that I would have wanted to do all the time in practice. Like I don't want to do busy work drills where you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like I want to play. I want to play a whole lot, and I want you to stop me and scream at me when I'm not playing, doing it the right way. But I don't want to learn that through a drill. I want to learn that through having somebody get up in me and seeing if I'm really good enough to do these things. You know what I mean? So we played a lot at Davidson and we competed. Everything was competing. So I think if I took anything from him, it was that. Like every shooting drill, it was kind of competitive. A passing drill was competitive. If it was a dive on the floor for a loose ball drill, we were all trying to do it better than the person next to us. You know what I mean? So, um, and I'm a genuinely pretty competitive person. So, if we're playing a game of Uno, I'm trying to kick your ass in that, and I want all my players to be that way as well. You know what I mean? Like I want to get to practice first because, Bobby was here first last practice, so I'm gonna, I make everything a competition, and yeah. So there's certain things that you take from your coaches, but I think the older you get and the more mature you get in your coaching, you can suss through the stuff that you don't need the fluff.
You mentioned that word accountability. I actually want to ask you about that. How do you probably, I don't know if teach is the right word, but promote that accountability? Let's say with an underage team, you've taken the under 14 girls in Kilkenny. How do you promote, taking that responsibility and not looking to kind of point the finger and be like, my coach didn't play me, that's his problem, and my whatever, just finding any other excuse but pointing the finger at yourself?
So I think number one, you have to establish some non-negotiables. There's like kind of off court or intangible non-negotiables and stuff like, be on time, or whatever the case may be. Like, so for my under 18 girls that I coach at Kilkenny now, I have recorded a warm-up for them. So I've sent it to all the parents who've given it to the kids. So, if there's a session on before them, they have 5 or 10 minutes to come in and get their dynamic warm-up done. So when that practice is done and we're starting practice, like, they're ready to go. Like, it's full throttle for the hour and a half that we have. So that's just giving them some personal accountability. And if they're not ready, and if you get there late, and if you come in and want to talk instead of that, then when I start to rock, and you know what I mean, like, you are not ready to play, then that's on you. That has nothing to do with me. And then as far as like accountability, like on the court, intangibles for me, it would be like certain things. Like, once you start to cut, finish your cut at all times. If you don't do that, right, you didn't do your job. In my head, like, I can't trust you. And if you continue to do these intangibles, or these principles that we talk about all the time, if you do it over and over, like, you're going to give yourself a chance to play. And then, obviously, as an underage coach, especially here in Ireland, it's like, or everywhere, every parent thinks their kid is the absolute gem of the sport. You know what I mean? Like, except for coaches who think their kids never do enough, which is what I'm slowly learning. But so it's like, if you do these things, and you feel like I'm not giving you a fair shot, and your parent comes to me, like, you better believe that the next game I'm gonna throw you in the fire. Like, I'm gonna throw you right there in the fire, and if you don't succeed in that, I'm just gonna look up in the stands at your parent and be like, "Yo, isn't this what you wanted?" So it's like, I'm not gonna play anybody and put them in a position to fail. But if you want to bitch at me and say, they deserve this, they deserve this, like, all right, here's your opportunity, go. And what I learned in college when I was young was that I used to bitch so much about, like, man, Coach McKillop ain't playing me, he ain't playing me, he ain't playing me. And you do that so much that when you do actually get your opportunity, like, you're not prepared for it, because all you've been doing is wasting time bitching about why you're not playing. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I've had this so much with people going away with Irish teams, is that, I keep telling them, just wait your turn, be ready, be prepared, be engaged in the game. Because, like, if you're only playing 2 minutes a game, but for whatever reason you get thrown out there in the first quarter, if all you're doing is being sad about not playing for the first 5 games, guess what happens in that 6 game when you get your opportunity? You're going to look pretty shitty. And then the coach is going to be like, see, that's why I didn't play you in the first place. You know what I mean? So I just tell the kids, like, your opportunity is going to come, and sometimes it doesn't come, and that's just the nature of sports. Like, I didn't play much at all in my 4 years at Davidson, but then I was playing overseas. I played, my first year abroad was in England, and I think my first game I had like 21 points and like 8 assists. And after not playing much for the 4 years in college, I'm feeling really, really good, only for my coach to come over to me and say, like, look, we need more from you. And I'm like, damn, bro, I had 21 and 8. Like, I haven't played in 4 years. I'm feeling pretty good. So it's like, you just got to constantly kind of, especially when you're not playing or you feel like you're being slighted, you just got to, I don't know. I think it's a way of developing mental toughness, and just feeling like you're always enough. Like, it's the same thing, you versus you. Like, even if this coach doesn't feel like I'm good enough to play for him, or he doesn't want me to play for him right now, like, I feel like the things that I'm doing and preparing myself are worth it, and I'm gonna stick at it. You know what I mean? Like, I trust myself more than I trust anybody else in the whole world.
Yeah,
And if
and that's
I,
sorry.
you know, and if,
Yeah,
if
sorry.
kids constantly feel that way, then it becomes way bigger than basketball. Like, I'm way bigger a commodity than just one of 12 players on a basketball team.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something that I think we all experience. I've experienced as a player is, well, one coach might not like me and I didn't play. And then another
Mm-hmm.
coach is like, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity here. But it's kind of like you're mentioning there with those Irish teams, and kind of, it's kind of having that, I kind of like call it the tunnel vision, that yes, I might not be getting, even like, let's say this season I don't get played, well, I still have to have that mental toughness to go out and train as hard, because next year I might get the chance. The coach
Mm-hmm.
might call you and say, look, Orla or Puff, I'm going to give you 20 minutes a game now because we've had maybe a major injury, or maybe, you get into foul trouble. You never know what's going to happen. So you have to kind
Mm-hmm.
of, what's that saying? Like, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Cliche,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
some
yeah.
applies a lot in sport because it's very unpredictable. Like,
Hey, there's something special about all those cliches that get passed around. Like, I hate that they always get passed around so much, but it's like, like the mentality that I've grown over the years that's grown in me is that like you cannot break me. Like whatever you say to me, whatever the minute you take away, like you can't. Like I don't play this game and I don't love this game for you. You know what I mean? Like I do this because I love it and it's something that it's in me. And like I said, it was something that got me out of a really really tough time when I was a kid. So I do this for that. I do this because of the process or the love of being in the gym on the court. You know what I mean? So like the teams that I don't play for and I don't play enough, like teams that maybe I don't feel like I play enough, like you cannot break me. You know, like I'm still gonna be smiling. I'm still gonna come into practice and I'm still gonna try to get up in somebody's ass. I'm still gonna have like very, very high energy every day. And eventually you're gonna break before I do. Like you're gonna have to play me. You're gonna have to, because I'm gonna keep coming at you. You know what I mean? Unless you fire me, which I've been fired a lot in my professional career, and it's more that I'm fired because I make coaches feel uncomfortable. Like I make you feel uncomfortable by not playing me. You know what I mean? So what do coaches do? I'm gonna fire his ass. Like, pray too much. It's too much positive energy. Get out of here. You know?
Oh, can you actually give us a bit of an insight into kind of navigating that professional career? I kind of spoke about with Jordan Brown, John Carroll, and Sean Flood, and a couple of other people. But for you, navigating a professional career, you obviously started in England. You're now residing in Ireland. You played for a couple of clubs here. What's that journey like coming out of college? And kind of, you've mentioned even getting fired from teams. Describe what it's actually like as a pro. What it's like actually behind the camera and away from the games, and just navigating that whole journey.
Okay, so like I've had a long pro career, a lot of heartbreak and a lot of really positive things, and I met a lot of great people. So I started off like after Davidson, I played for a couple teams in the ABA, which is like it's kind of a minor league in the States. So I had a couple tryouts with G League teams. It was the D League back then. That's how old I am. It's the D League. It was called the developmental league back then. But I had a couple tryouts with them, and it just didn't really make sense because unless you are like very very high level and playing a lot, like I knew I didn't have a shot to play in NBA. So after that year, I went and I played for a team called Kings Lynn, and which was in the EBL one in England. So I was with USA Select, which is a kind of a traveling exposure team. And as soon as we got off the flight to go and play a bunch of BBL teams, the guy who ran it, Sean Kilmartin, got a call and said they needed a point guard. I made a pretty positive impression on him, so he sent me. He just put me on a train right when we landed in Gatwick, and I was off to this crazy place in Norfolk, in Suffolk, in Kings Lynn, this little town. So played there for a year. And then I came to Ireland and played for Ballina. And then after that, I went to. Now this is taking me down memory lane now. So I went to Spain for a little while and played with Jermaine Turner. I think I was over there for a few weeks. They didn't have any roster spots open, so I came back to Ireland. Then I played in Moycullen in 2009, 2010, their first Super League year. I went to Portugal after that, and I played for about maybe 2 months in Portugal in the top league. And then I got fired from there because they kind of ran out of money, so got rid of all their pros. Came back here then, and where did I play? I played a few games for Belfast Star with Adrian Fulton while they were waiting for their American to come in. And by this stage, like Ireland kind of knew me, so I feel like I was kind of becoming a mainstay. So then I signed the next year for UL with Mark Keenan. This was Jason's first year there, so I was really excited about that. So we played the first few preseason games. We won pretty handily, and then Mark kind of came to me and was like, I think I need more of a scoring guard. So he fired me. And this was in 2011. It was about 3 weeks before my wedding. And I think this was one of the last times I ever kind of cried over basketball was in 2011. Like I was getting married. My mom was coming over. I thought she was going to get to see my first game with UL. And yeah, he fired me. So I went through that. And then I ended up playing with Dublin Thunder in the National League that year, and we won the National League Cup. This was before they had any rules about Americans playing in National League, so we had like 8 Americans that year. Like we're beating teams by like 100 points or something stupid, So from there, I ended up going to Australia for a year, for a season. Came back and played with Colester and Jermaine Turner. And we can talk a little bit about that later. That was a crazy year. Got fired um, for Michael Bonaparte, who ended up being my Templeogue teammate. So they fired me and brought Donie in. And then I played 3 years National League with Kilkenny. And then I've been the last 6 years with McKillop. Or
Right.
Templeogue, sorry, with Templeogue.
Yeah. And when you describe kind of, when we were just speaking about that mentality of kind of that tunnel vision and, staying ready, when you go through so many ups and downs, like how, like it's easy for me to say it on the podcast when I'm
Mm-hmm.
recording in my bedroom, but when you're in this, when you're in Portugal, you're getting fired. When you're in the UL, getting fired. But you're head coach of the Irish national team. Like, describe what that is like and how you build that resilience.
Um, I mean, like the sad, like you can't run away from the sadness of it. Like you can't run away from the hurt, And I think that's what some people do. They try to pretend that like, I'm so solid that I can't be hurt, and it doesn't hurt me when these bad things happen to me. It's like, nah, I didn't run away from that. Like I accepted it, and I accepted it as a part of, this is the job, this is the life that I'm trying to live. There's people literally trying to bounce a ball to feed their families. You know what I mean? Like that's a part of it, and like especially when you start playing high level basketball, it's like everybody is replaceable. And then the more you start to realize that in basketball, then you realize that that's kind of the case in everything, like in whatever job you have or whatever relationship you're in. If you don't work at it and hold serve and grow with that, then somebody is waiting there and is going to replace you. You know what I mean? So for those specific jobs that I got fired on, I just felt like the coach or the leader or whoever it is just felt like they needed somebody else or something else to get them over the edge, and that's fine. And I took that in. Like, did it build a bigger chip on my shoulder? Like, yes, because I'm competitive, and like I still feel like I'm the best point guard on the whole planet, and I'm almost 40 years old, and it's just the mentality I'm always going to keep, and it's the mentality I try to, even if you're the worst kid on your team, I want kids to have that mentality that like I'll bust your ass. Like you're averaging 20 points a game, I'm getting 20 seconds a game, I'll still bust your ass. You know what I mean? And it just builds a resolve. And some people, I don't think it's something that's innate in people. Like like either you have it or you don't. I think it's something that's developed over time. And I think if you have a circle of people who are just yes men and tell you that you're great when you're not, then you're not going to build that. If you have people that say, well, he should have fired your ass because you don't never go left. Well, then it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm gonna go in the gym and I'm gonna work on my left. You know what I mean? So I had a great circle. My family's been great. My friends that I have here, that my family that I've built here in Ireland are great. And they've kept me grounded, and they've kept me believing that the thing that I was chasing, this hoop dream is worth chasing. So yeah, so build your circle, and put people around you that are going to tell you when you're actually not great, and then also have people around you that are also going to celebrate you for the things that you do well.
Mm. Can you describe when you started off with Ballina to last season, kind of coming into this season, what's been the biggest evolution of Irish basketball, whether it's at Super League, National League level, or underage, or the national teams?
Yeah. So like when I first came here, like number one, I didn't even know that they had a national team. I think in 2008 was the last kind of games where people were coming into the arena and all of that, and I didn't even know that were happening. Like I was in the country, I was one of the Americans, I was one of the best players in the country, and I had zero idea that they had this national team. So number one, obviously, like with social media and everything, like the coverage is obviously better, and now every 12 or 13-year-old kid knows who Sean Flood is and who Jordan Brown is and who like Lorcan Murphy and all these guys are. You know what I mean? So that's number one, is the coverage. Like basketball is a little bit bigger deal than it was then. But as far as the actual basketball stuff, like the skill level of Irish players is crazy, man. It's crazy. I think that's just with the evolution of the game in general. Um, everybody talks about comparing eras, like Michael Jordan versus LeBron James's era and all this, and it's like you can't not say that the skill level hasn't gotten better over the course of the different eras of basketball. And I think that's the case with Irish basketball as well. And I'm not necessarily saying that the people now are better than 30 or 40 years ago, but I'm saying that the skill level is better. So I've seen that as a player. So I can teach things to a 14-year-old now that I probably would have taught an under 20s player when I first came here, if that makes sense. Like they're learning more things faster, you know? Like my daughter, for example, is 13 and she knows more options off a ball screen literally than I knew coming out of college. And she's 13 years old. And it's not, I don't say that to big her up because if anybody has seen me coach her, I do not big her up very often. But she knows more than I knew now. She knows more now than I knew when I was 21, 22 years old, for sure.
Wow. When did you start getting involved with Irish teams? I know you're with Sean Flood, but an underage team. Was it under
Yeah,
18?
under 18. I think that was in like 2014, maybe 2013, 2014. So it started off that Patty Lyons is like my guy. Like he's like Patty Lyons. Like I know he's been on the podcast before. And this kid, when I played at Moy Cullen in that 2009, 2010 season, like this guy, I used to go to the gym in Kingfisher every day. And he was like a little gnat. He would just like show up. He would like be there. It would be like during school times. I'd be like, what are you doing here? And he'd be like, can I work out with you? Can I rebound for you? Can I do this? And he just used to follow me around and he used to do any drill I would show him, he would like master it. Then he'd come back and ask me for another one. So I was really, really close with Patty, really close early on. And he was playing with the under 16 Irish team that Dave Baker coached. So like I said, back when I first was in Ireland, I didn't know much about the national teams at all. But because I knew Patty and Dylan Costello and Stephen O'Brien, who were the three Moy Cullen guys on that team, I kind of got to know Dave, and he let me come in and help out with a few sessions. And I was like, yo, this shit is fun. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the best players in Ireland all in one space, and I get to work with them. Like, this is cool. So then Sean Flood was another Nat who used to, ask me for drills and just was a gym rat. So, I was kind of close with him and I was kind of following his progression. And I kind of sent an email. I actually sent an email to Basketball Ireland saying, can I have the coaches' emails, all the national team coaches' email addresses, because I want to help them with individual workouts for their players. Set up individual workouts for, like, say if there's 6 Dublin players, I go work them out, or if there's 6 Galway lads, I go there and work them out. And Tom O'Malley got wind of that email, and he said, "Don't be sending that out. Just come be my assistant with Sean Flood's with that under 18 team." And just young me as a coach, I was still just a player. I wasn't even a coach, and I was like, okay. And that just started it. And then the Irish senior team came back, and Colin O'Reilly touted me as a guy that helped people get better. And from there, I was his assistant for how many every years, and now I'm just in it. Now, like before you know it, you're just in it.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like an addiction nearly in basketball. Like it really is. Can you describe? You mentioned there kind of that area idea what you had, where you take 6 Dublin players, say, or 4 Galway people, and work them out together. There's always been this big debate about like having an official academy. What's your opinion on it? Do we need it? Would an area they've kind of started those regional academies? Is that a better way of doing it? What's your opinion on it?
It is better because you get more kids. I think like we're slowly trying to get on the same page and teach all the academy kids the same thing. So like for me, it's like, I know I did the Kilkenny one a few years ago. The first year they did it, actually, I did the Kilkenny under 15 one. This is before it was by your region. It was just the smaller areas for under 15. And I remember I did it. I was doing so much on my own, and it was like I had 30 boys in one session, and then I'd have 30 girls, and we had to get 50 hours done with them, like in season. So I just like it was a lot. And I was blessed with the female one that year because we had like Lucy Coogan, Sarah Hickey, who else in it? Caitlin Glockner was in that. And it was like all of these really, really, really high level girls who were in it, like all the Wildcats who kind of won national cups now and won schools finals, and then all my Kilkenny Stars who kind of made under 17 development Irish teams and that, and were like kind of knocking on the door with Irish teams. So I was really lucky in that I had a lot of high level people. But like my idea was that if you get your top 8 or 10 in the area and you just constantly have them working out together and competing against each other, it's like once they go to Irish practice, you're not leveling up to go to Irish practice. That's just the way you are. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the academies are definitely on the right track, but I do think it's hard for the people who are running the academy sessions because there's just so many kids in there to make sure that you're really increasing the level. Like you're increasing knowledge, which is a start. but at some level, at some stage, it's going to be, we got to increase the level of player, you know?
Okay. When you're working with a player, Puff, how do you measure success with, let's say, for example, we'll take Lucy Coogan. How
Hmm.
do you measure success of working with Lucy? Obviously, she's gone to the States, but for you as a coach and for her skills trainer, what would you, like, how did you measure your success of working with her?
The fact that she kept coming back, like that was it. Like that was it. It was like we'd have drills that we do every day or shooting drills every day, and we're trying to obviously beat that score. But it's not like when you get to a certain score, it's like, okay, Lucy, you're a good shooter now. Like, nah, do that shit tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I think like the big thing with people that come to me to work out is just like they feel like if they come to me one time, like I'm gonna transform their game. I'm not doing anything different that somebody else wouldn't do with them. It's just like the reason that Lucy has had success was that she bought into the idea of perfecting her craft. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't judge success on anything else than that you worked at it over and over and over and over again. You know, and then everybody says that like hard work pays off. Like, oh, I hate that saying so much. Like, it's true, but like hard work is just that's just a part of it. That's just a natural part of doing something you love. Like, you're gonna work really, really hard at it. You know, and the more you do it, eventually something is gonna go right your way. And for me, it was like, well, if Lucy hadn't got the scholarship, or if she hadn't made these Irish teams, or if she hadn't been one of the best players on these Irish teams, does that mean that the work she did was not a success, or the stuff we did wasn't a success? Like, no, it doesn't mean that. It just means that maybe she didn't get the recognition for the work she put in, you know? So, yeah, it's kind of a slippery slope talking about how do you judge success as a trainer. Like, you can't. It's just like, over the course of days and weeks and months and years, you just start to see, you know, like there's a quote, what is it? Like somebody became a success overnight, overnight success. It took years to become an overnight success or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, it took me. It was like, I think it was Messi. He was like, "Oh, it took me 10 years to be an overnight success," or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. You know what I mean? Because everybody, like, once you start to showcase on a national platform or international platform, everybody's like, "Oh, where the hell she come from?"
yeah,
But nobody saw. And Drew Hanlon has it, like unseen hours is kind of what his stuff is called. It's
yeah.
like people like there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So I don't judge it by like the recognition or the accolades. I judge it by like, are you coming back on Tuesday? Like that's it.
Love it.
That's a success for me.
Yeah, and we'll take Lucy as the example, but you can go back on your Instagram page, and if people listening, if there's young
Mm-hmm.
players listening, Lucy wasn't an overnight success. You can go back to, you must have been 2014, 2015 when you started working with her,
What
or
is she?
maybe a little later.
Yeah, it was a long time. I remember the first time I ever met her mom. It was we had a cup final. I was playing for Kilkenny in the National League, and we got to the cup final, and she had brought her girls up there, and we were playing Titans. We lost in overtime this game, but there was like a loose ball that I dove to get, and I ended up having to jump onto the stands, like where everybody was, so they all moved out of the way, and I was like, "Let's go!" like to the crowd, and everybody was just hyped up. And I think Edna saw that. Her mom saw that and was like, "Yo, I got to mess with this guy. I'm gonna get this guy to work my girl." She didn't know I was a skills trainer or anything. Like I remember she got in touch with me. She found me, and the next day she was like, "Will you start working my girls out?" And I was like, "All right." And then it was like she actually had to beat Lucy into coming because Lucy was a camogie player. Like
Oh, okay, I didn't notice.
yeah, yeah, she used to wear like the Kilkenny jersey to our trainers. I'd be like, "Yo, come on, bro! Like, what are you, what are you doing?" So she had to like beat her to the first couple, and from there it was like, you know, she was like 11 years old, and I usually don't even take kids kind of 11, 10 or 11 years old because I think it's too young. And then she started coming every Friday, every Friday, every Friday, and then it became like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it was just like an everyday thing. So she just differentiated herself because she just wanted to be there all the time, you know.
Puff, you mentioned a lot of players you've worked with, including they're all Irish internationals, obviously, but even including players you've played with. What are the attributes of successful players? Is there any sort of common themes you've noticed over the years where you can kind of pinpoint a pattern between players?
Um, Common attributes. So I think like the really successful players that I've had, like they are really like really attentive to detail. So like if we're working on a particular set of footwork, The ones that start asking me questions and are saying that they feel weird going left as opposed to when they're going right doing this particular set of footwork, and are really taking their time. And then, like, say if we're in a camp setting or something like that, you'll see these particular kids go into the back of the line, and when they're like waiting on their turn or whatever, they're like working on the footwork or working on the stuff while they're waiting. Like those sponges, like those are the ones that I kind of look at. Like even when they're like 12 and 13, and I'm like, yo, they got something. They got something, you know? And then like Sean Flood is like the ultimate. Like he's like like working Sean Flood out is like you have to have a thesis in the stuff that you're teaching them, because he wants to know every nook and cranny about why you're doing it, how you're doing it. Yo, you do it first and let me see you do it. Like, why does it feel this way, this way? Like he's asking questions all the time. So, I think that's the biggest attribute that's that I see in a lot of players is that they're just very they want to know it all. You know what I mean? They want to know why they're doing stuff all the time. Yeah, for sure.
It's like I saw that video from Kobe. I think when it was his the Mamba Day, he had I don't know, it was think from a talk or something, but he was like, you have to be patient in learning the details, but you have to be impatient to want to get better. So it's like
Yes.
being
Yeah.
patient in the middle of the practice, but like then as soon as you go home, you're thinking about it and you're practicing and you're back the next
Yes.
day, and it's kind of though patient but impatient, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also like those really successful players, like they think and watch basketball a lot. Yeah. And like I never understood how like some players just don't watch any basketball, but I'm like, you want to be a great player? Like, yeah. I'm like, what? So it's like the players that are just constantly like, and not highlights, like actual games, and you're not watching it to be a fan. Like there's a way of learn. Like if you know what I mean. Like it's if I start to watch a particular player, like I'm watching everything he does. Like I want to know like if he's high fiving people when he goes to the bench. I want to know what his reaction is when he gets called for a bad foul. Like once kids start watching things like that, and the good kids, the really good players are the ones that when they're watching these Irish games, their peers playing, they're really like, hey, Harry Scully is doing this and this and this, just to use Harry as an example, because he was a great under 16 player for us this year.
Hmm. Speaking of skills and you being a skills trainer, what is the most underrated skill in the game at the moment?
Swinging the ball from the top for sure. Like, which is not even like anybody can do it, but like literally getting the ball at the top of the key and whipping it to the other side and making the defense shift. And like everybody possesses that. Like everybody possesses the ability to do this, and especially in under like so what are we trying to build as players? We're trying to build dynamic offensive players, all the time. All right, how can I be a more dynamic offensive player? I can make the defense move faster, so I catch it with a head start. You know what I mean? So just being able to literally catch the ball, swing it side to side, make the defense shift over to them, and now give the person on the wing a chance to attack one on one with an advantage. It's like the most underutilized skill in basketball. And this is not an underage thing. This is like senior men's. This is NBA. This is EuroLeague. This is Eurobasket. I was at Eurobasket yesterday. Like all the post players can come down, and once they catch it, like they make a decision on the spot, you know? And so especially the young post players that I'm teaching with, I'm trying to teach them to make a decision a little bit quicker. Like I don't care if you catch and shoot it and jack it up, as long as you do it with if you do it with all your heart, like you really believe in this was the best decision for my team. So catch and make a quick decision is yeah, most underutilized skill for sure.
Okay, interesting. Speaking of European Championships, I just want to touch on the 2021. I don't know if they still call it the 2020 championships for small countries. Obviously, Ireland won that, and I spoke to the guys, and they said that kind of going into it, that was the aim, was to win and to kind of put this benchmark down that we're too good to be in this competition.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of an underlying theme that was never talked about within our camp. Like we knew that we needed to win that to progress, to show Basketball Ireland that like we want to be playing with the big boys. Like, and not saying that, like, not belittling the small countries at all, but it's like I want to play against Spain, and I want to play against all of them. I want to play against Serbia. Like that was in our heads. So we went into that with the most professional mindset, and as a coaching staff, it was like, we're going to prepare these games as if we are in like the Olympics or something. So it was teams that we knew we were going to beat by 40 points that I was probably doing the most preparation for as far as the scouting reports. You know what I mean? Like even the final, Malta was missing, or the last game that got us the championship. Malta was missing maybe two of their best players, and I was talking about their seventh and eighth man as if they were like Kyrie Irving or something, knowing that we were more talented than them, but just wanting to put it in our guys' heads that like we have to perform at every second and leave no stone unturned to make sure we win this, and that we put in our federation's head that we're ready for the next step.
Do you think it was also getting ready for, like, obviously there was no decision made at that point for Eurobasket, but when you're talking about, that level of preparation you went to and being switched on the entire time, even when you're 40 points up, that's what's you're going to need to do when you get to the Eurobasket pre-qualifiers.
Yeah, 100%. And it rolled right into it. So then we had a basis or like, 7 or 8 players who kind of continued and played in every window with us for the Eurobasket qualifiers, pre-qualifiers. And we were all on the same page all the time. Like they knew exactly how we used to do the video stuff. So once we got into the qualifiers, even though we hadn't been together and we were only together for that 3 days before we played Cyprus, we were able to click and get on the same page very, very quickly. Like they knew exactly what I was looking for when I'm trying to scout other opponents. They knew like how I wrote scouting reports and the things that I was trying to take away from teams as being one of the guys in charge of trying to take away strings for the opposing team. So yeah, it was, it was like our first window of the Eurobasket qualifiers was the small countries.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn from the pre-qualifiers so far? Obviously, there's still a qualifying tournament next summer, but what did you learn from the previous windows that you've gone through? What were the biggest takeaways for you, maybe as a coach?
It's just the misdirection stuff that so many European teams do. Like it's not so much they have like 15 sets that they're running as more like the actions that they're running. So everybody is getting into some kind of ball screen action. But it's just the different ways they get into that ball screen. And so I'm a big video guy. So everything I'm doing is I'm trying to look at a team, all the sets that they run, and I'm trying to take these things away and I'm trying to call them out. Like you'll see me during the games, I'm screaming out what's coming because I'm so adamant about knowing exactly what a coach is thinking or what a team is thinking and trying to do. But when you get to this level, it's like they don't care that you know what they're going to do. Like they know that you know what they're going to do. So now they're doing misdirection stuff and they're trying to mask when and where and what positions they're getting into this ball screen stuff. And then so it's like as a team, like with so little preparation, because we don't get to spend so much time together, can we still be on the same page and be able to ride out our defensive schemes even when they're happening at points that we don't know or didn't expect for them to happen at. So very easy to say we're double teaming a ball screen. It's very easy if a team just comes down to the wing, sets a basic ball screen, very easy to double that. But when you come off a flare screen into a double staggered into a ball screen going towards the baseline side, like after all those actions have happened and you have to think and talk and get through all that, now it's very, very hard to double team that ball screen and stay on the same page. So that's the biggest takeaway. And then offensively for us, can we be dynamic enough to to start masking like we all knew that we had 3 or 4 players who were kind of our main guns offensively. And when teams start shutting that down, can we mask the ways that we're trying to get those guys open and get them into their spots, So yeah, it was definitely a learning curve for our players, but I think more so for me, Mark, and Adrian as a coaching staff, trying to be creative.
What's the toughest part of being with the Irish senior team in this current form of the Eurobasket and so many guys playing professionally? Is it the lack of time you have with one another, or what's the toughest challenge for you as a coach and staff?
So like after we played Austria the last time, they had Jacob Podol, the NBA player who played for the Spurs. I was talking to him after the game, and I was like, what's it like bringing an NBA guy into the fold? And he said, what you'll learn is that the higher level player you bring in, the quicker they can adjust and get what you're doing. You know what I mean? So the fact that we have so many pros now, like even though we don't have many time, like when you bring Taiwo and you bring Sean and Jordan and John and, even when we bring Aiden, who's not a professional yet, but he's living kind of a professional life in college, and CJ, when you bring those guys in, to your fold, like they're going to pick things up really, really quickly. So that wasn't actually as hard as you think it would be, you know, because smart players, good players, like are usually smarter players, and they're going to pick things up quickly. I think. Um, what was the hardest part? Like obviously the budget, like the budget from basketball. Like we don't have a lot of money. We don't have a ton of money, so we don't get to have a 2 week training camp in June, even though everybody is kind of home and around. Like, and some guys are working kind of 9 to 5. So it's like, you can't just take Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off and have a training camp in UL if we wanted to. So I think just the fact that we're not a fully professional outfit is hard. And it's still like, fair play to our guys who still make the effort, and we still are competing, and we still had a chance to win almost every game that we played in those 3 windows.
I know you hate the word potential, but
Mm-hmm.
there's so much young players, like say we've so much youth coming up that
Yeah.
someone made a comment that it is probably going to be a reality at some point when we have a fully professional 12-man squad for the Irish team. When do you think that is going to happen, if it does happen in your opinion?
I mean, I think it's going to happen within the next 10 years, maybe 5 years even, because, you already see it now. Like we have so many kind of 18 to 23-year-olds who are off in college. And if they want, there is an opportunity for them to make money playing basketball. And it's not for everybody. Like the life is hard, and and I think Colin O'Reilly said this in one of his clinics during the lockdowns that I remember, that you don't have to be paid to be a professional. You know what I mean? So like having professionalism is not necessarily the amount of money you get paid. And sometimes when you go and become a professional, like you're not making much money. And it's just the way you carry yourself, and the dedication you have to the craft is what actually makes you a professional. So I think a lot of these kids that we have that are in college now, or even the young guys who are still playing in Ireland in the Super League, they have a lot of potential, obviously, and they have a chance to really become craftsmen of this game. So if they choose to go that route and make basketball kind of one of their full time things, then yeah, the next 5 years is exciting, man. Like, like I went to the Eurobasket yesterday and went to see Luca play. And like I made a post on Instagram about this, and all I kept thinking all day was like, how do we get here? How do we get here? Like, how can we be here one day? And I don't think it's as far fetched as a lot of people do think, because Slovenia's first Eurobasket appearance, they did a video tribute yesterday, was in 1993, and that's not that long ago. So maybe when I'm 55 or 60, I'll be in the crowd at Ireland in the Eurobasket, and they'll say, Ireland's first appearance was in 2032 in the Eurobasket, and now Slovenia actually won the Eurobasket a few years ago. So like the writing's on the wall, and we've seen smaller countries do great things in basketball. So like we're not that far away.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tailor this question a little bit without putting the word money in as the answer. What do we need to do to get there? Because obviously, like we don't have money to put in, so we can't offer that as a solution.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
from what you've seen with players, with clubs, with parents, with anybody involved in the community, how do you make the next step to get to Eurobasket?
So I think the first step is obviously our domestic league has to continue getting better, and it is getting better. It's becoming more professional, and like I said, professionalism, it doesn't just mean like professional in the sense that we have more money in the league, but it's professional in that like now we have Joymo. What is it? Joymo.
Joymo, yeah, yeah.
Joymo is they're going to be filming every game. So when I first came here, trying to get film on an opposing team was like gold. Like, what I mean? Every coach is holding their games hostage, don't want to share anything. So now the fact that every game is being streamed, and everybody has a fair chance to be scouted, like that's making the league more professional right away. Like we have so many Europeans and Americans coming in the league that should be lifting the level of our Irish players. So that's making the league more professional. So as we continue to keep doing that, it's going to trickle down. So now, in order to be an Irish player that plays in the Super League, you got to be at a certain level. So where does that trickle down? So now it's like, as underage coaches, as an under 14 coach, like what you do matters a little bit more, because like the habits that you're teaching these under 14 kids is going to become what they do under 18s, under 20s, and it might like either keep them or propel them into being Super League and domestic level players. You know what I mean? In our top league. So it starts at the top with our Super League teams, and then obviously our grassroots. We have to just continue coaching education, which I think Basketball Ireland is getting a lot better at, and just teaching all these volunteer coaches how to develop players in a little bit of time that we have. It's just a constant it's a constant cycle of trying to churn players out and teach them personal accountability to go and work on their craft themselves.
Something that's probably more of a Gaelic football thing now is they have these kind of, obviously there's underage academies, there's 14, 15 up to kind of 20s, but from 20s and beyond, is there scope to have an under 23 academy, that kind of B senior team that you have guys coming together and training and being part of that high level environment,
Yeah.
Away from their Super League team?
Mm-hmm. Like I would love it. Like I think, like I said, we have so many under 18 to 23-year-old kids now. And it's like, what do they do? Like if you don't make the senior team, if you're too old for the under 20s, like what do you do if you're a high level kid here? So like if we had kind of an under 23 team, and if anybody from the EPC is listening, I would love for us to have an under 23 team that always entered the small countries. And Basketball Ireland, shout out, shout out. So if anybody's listening, I hope they get that. And I know Adrian Fulton, who's on the EPC, has we've kind of had talks about this as well. Is that there is a window there where our elite kids are kind of being lost, and we don't want to lose them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I probably observed a little bit from Gaelic football. They're kind of having that second string, even if they never play in
Yeah,
the small countries, just being able to come together as a group, maybe at
yeah.
Christmas or during the summer. Doesn't even have to be once a week. Just kind of
Hmm.
getting together and getting that mindset even of competing
Yeah,
against one
yeah.
another.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great insight, a great thing that you just said there, and it's something that it's gonna become more of a problem as we send more and more kids to the States, and kids are going over to Europe and playing at young ages now. So I just don't want to lose touch with these kids because they're everything. Like maybe two or three of them might become senior internationals, but you don't want to lose that one or two because they weren't an international at age 21, but by the age of 26, they're one of the best players in the country. That you don't want them to fall through the cracks.
Mm-hmm. But for your career, obviously you retired this year. I put up that question box and got a couple of questions saying, "Are you actually retiring?" And I did ask you that the other week as well. But what kept you in the game for so long? Mentally and being able to perform at the level you were even just last season.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Like I genuinely love it. And I think if you are around me in the gym, like even if you don't know me within the first 30 minutes, you're like, yo, this dude really, really loves it. And, it doesn't matter. Like I could go watch an under 11 girls game, or I could, perform in a Super League Cup final. And my passion for the game is the same. You know what I mean? So it was never work. It was never hard work. And I think also, my daughter's mother, my ex-wife now, she was a rock, man. She allowed me to do it. Like she allowed me to go to all the trainings in Dublin. She allowed me to be 2 hours early at every game. She just gave me an avenue where even in my older years and when I had to do extra to prepare myself to be able to play, she just gave me the opportunity to do that, and I'll always be thankful for that. But I could play forever. Like the way that I keep myself in shape and just being around the game anyway, because I'm a trainer and a coach, like I'm always going to be in the gym. And because I'm in the gym, like my mentality was always to be there early. So if I'm going to be there early for practice, like that 30 minutes, I'm probably just going to shoot or do some push-ups or something. You know what I mean? Like I could play this year. Like I don't like the word retired. You know what I mean? Like I'm not playing. I'm not playing, but I'm not, retired is like shit when you're like 65 and you know what I mean? Like
65's young. That's young
yeah,
to
but I'm
play.
just saying, like you're ready to have your grandkids sitting on your lap. You know what I mean? Like I'm not playing because I want to be there more for the players that I'm trying to progress to the next level. And like I was taking minutes away from, young professionals who are coming and trying to keep their career going. Like what's the point of me sharing time with another 24-year-old American and my old ass is on the court where he's trying to get stats and trying to progress to the next league. Like, nah, bro, go get your money, go get your numbers up, go get us a national cup. You know what I mean? Like that's not why. Like I wanna help the next generation get to the next level. I don't want to harness anybody from doing that. So if I feel like I was harnessing somebody, it was my time to step away. It's not because I'm old. It's not because, I don't want to play anymore. I'm not retired.
That's actually something you've kind of touched on. I asked Tim Rice about this, about the Super League and the rule with the Americans.
Hmm.
No brainer to remove that rule of one player, one American on the court, in your opinion?
Yeah, bro. Let people rock. Like I've been here for 16 years, 15 years. Like why am I sharing time? Like, you know what I mean? Like last year when I was playing, if I'm playing 15 minutes a game because I'm almost 40 years old and the younger guys are better and I can't perform, like fair. Like don't say because because I've almost been here as long as some of the kids who were playing Super League last year, which is freaking scary. You know what I mean? Like, like we had kids in the league who are like 18. I've been here 16 years. You was 2 when I got here, right? But so, like I just think if teams can afford it and teams can bring Americans over or Europeans over or whatever, like take away that rule and just let people rock. You know what I mean? Like because people are getting around it anyway. Like instead of having 2 Americans on the floor, teams might have 4 Europeans, and now you have one Irish player who's playing. So it's not like the 2 American rule is to make Irish players better. Like what is it there for? You know?
Yeah, I put it into context. I think you were talking about it when you mentioned obviously Michael Bonaparty. He could have played for Ireland, but he would still count as American. And you could have gone to Spain with your marriage license and would
Mm-hmm.
have counted as Irish, but in here you are still an American.
Yeah. But Will Hanley, who played for Ireland for these windows for us, like if he came over here to play, he'd be an American.
Yeah,
Like it's crazy. It's nuts. But any other country, like the reason that he got to progress in European basketball so a little bit easier was because he had his Irish passport. So he counts as a European. So like it's nuts. It's nuts.
I'm going to throw a few. We're obviously going to do the sideline seven, but I'm going to throw another few kind of random questions at you.
Yeah.
A lot of younger players obviously are going to be listening because they love your page and stuff. But
Mhm.
best advice for developing confidence?
Um, reps. Reps develops confidence. Like rep it over and over. Even when you're missing, even when people say you can't do certain things, like rep it, work on your weakness until it's not so much a weakness anymore.
Okay, very good. What's the best advice you've been given either from a coach or from a player teammate?
Um, best advice I've been given. Best advice I've been given. That's a hard one. I've been given some gems. Um, I think the best advice that I was given was from my great grandfather. This is not from anybody, but he told me to, if I was working a job getting paid $5 an hour, work it as if you're getting paid $10 an hour, right? So work so hard that either when you get a raise, you won't have to increase your work level because you've already been working to that level, or when you leave, they will then miss you when they try to replace you with a $5 an hour person. It's the best advice I've gotten.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned from sport?
Is that you are replaceable. Like that like so. And I think this is funny because I went to Eurobasket yesterday to see Slovenia and Lithuania play, and there was about 13,000 people there, I'd say, and I was just one of 13,000 people there who love basketball. You know what I mean? And it had nothing to do with playing. And then obviously, like there's these players who are playing at this high level, but there's just so much. Basketball is such a big thing, and that you are just a little part of that. You know what I mean? Like you are always replaceable. So I think our goal within this game is just to try to carve a little tiny dent in it. You know what I mean? Like that somebody might remember me a little bit, or somebody might try to emulate something that I did. And it's just trying to survive in this game. And it's like, that's the biggest lesson that I've taken from this. And I think that can be applied to anything. Like no matter what relationship you're in, there's somebody that can take your place if you don't do your job. So I think basketball's taught me that more than anything.
Brilliant. Was your ability down to more work ethic or talent for you, Puff?
It has to be work ethic. Like talent, I was just a short little pudgy kid who couldn't really jump that high, and I became a pretty strong, still short, but still pretty strong, fast, and could hold his own with anybody in the world. So that was all just because I worked at it and I loved it.
If you could relive any moment of your career, what would it be?
Um, huh. I don't know. I can't really like all of it, man. All of it, like everything. Like even the getting fired and the bad parts and not playing in college and the heartbreak. Um, it formed who I was. So I think the best moment that I've ever had was winning the national cup in 2020 and being able to have both my girls in my arms. I think that's the most powerful sports moment I've ever had because my babies were there with me. You know.
If I were to go back and even go to kind of your Davidson years and, with Michael Bree and Conor Grace and kind of go back to that time and say, well, you're going to, have a professional career, but come to Ireland and impact Irish basketball, what would you have said to me?
I've been like, nah, give me my money back. You're a crap you're a crap fortune teller. Nah, you're not reading. That's the wrong line on my palm. You're reading right there.
A good question in actually from Barry Lynch. The season's obviously starting soon. How are you finding it? We're not mentioning the word retire. We're just saying not playing. And I can just see already people listening that are like, oh my God, he's leaving room to come back and kind of, because he's not actually officially retired.
I'm finding it like, to be honest, I'm finding it really, really tough. Just not having the guys around, just and I've complained so much to people who are close to me about the traveling up and back to Dublin for these last 6 years, and it's just taking its toll on my body. Took its toll on my relationships, on being there for my girls. But like just getting there and even when guys were tired from work coming into practice, just being that positive influence. And even though I was tired as well, just knowing that I could uplift guys to want to do this thing a little bit more at a higher level. Like it just, it was a motivating factor for me, and I miss that. I miss talking crap in the locker in the changing room after games or before games, or making fun of Jason for everything, and just everything that comes with the camaraderie of being a part of a team. um yeah, I miss it. It's really hard, like the hardness of the hard part of the preseason, and the running and the conditioning stuff that you don't want to do, and it's just a means of getting ready for this long season that's going to tire your body out even more. I miss it. I miss all of it, man. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard.
What team are you most excited to watch this year?
Super League.
Yeah.
um Well, my heart is just Templeogue. I'm just I just see red when I open my eyes because they've given me so much over the years. So I want to see how they're going to progress now that we kind of like Jason is gone and I'm gone, and Steve James is not playing there this year. So they've lost a lot as far as kind of senior veteran leadership. So I just want to see how they're going to bounce back or respond to that. But obviously, the team that everybody is wondering about is Neptune. I just want to see what the hell Jordan's going to be like in the league, and how Colin's going to manage that animal.
Going to put you on the spot with this one. I've started the One to Watch series where we give a kind of bit of spotlight to younger athletes in all sports. I'm going to put you on the spot. I want a few names. Who are the up and coming stars of Irish basketball we need to keep an eye on?
Just any age.
Any age.
Any age. I mean, it's easy if I just name like the people who are already on Irish teams. I don't want to do that. So I don't know. I think maybe I'm a little biased, but there's this 13-year-old girl in Kilkenny. That's a freaking killer, yo. She's a killer.
3x3 champ.
She's
back
a
to back
killer.
to back.
Listen. Everybody's like, oh, Caitlin reminds me of you when they play. And it's like the biggest compliment, but it's the biggest cap ever. She's nothing like me. She is so much like tenacious. She's tenacious like me, and she plays hard, but like she's just got her own swag, man. Like Kate, I don't ask me that question because she's coming of age, and I don't want to, you know what I mean. I don't want to be giving that propaganda for my own daughter, but she's my favorite player to watch ever.
Love it. We're gonna have to design more T-shirts for her because she's running out of
Yeah,
3x3
every color,
T-shirts.
every color, every color.
Oh, brilliant. Final question for me on Sideline 7. We've nearly done a Sideline 7 before, the actual Sideline
Yeah.
7. What do you want to be remembered for in relation to Irish basketball when, when the time comes where you step away from the game completely, which I don't think will happen talking to you now.
Mm.
What do you want to be remembered for when people say the name Puff Summers in the Irish basketball community?
I want people to think that he lit the room up. Like he lit the room up with positive energy, and he made people want to be in the gym. And that's it. And if I can make people want to be in the gym, then you create that self accountability that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. And if you don't remember me for anything else, just remember me for showing up every day and wanting to be better every day. That's it.
We are finally going to move on to the Sideline 7, brought to you by RTP Physio, founded by chartered physiotherapists Donie Fox and Thomas Divilly. They are based in St.Judes GA Club in Tempelogue, Dublin. RTPs specialise in physiotherapy, return to play, physical health and performance. You can visit rtp.physio for more. Puff, you've listened to the podcast. I'm expecting some pretty spectacular answers here. Question 1, out of all the quotes we've already mentioned, what is your favourite one?
My favorite quote. Man, there's so many quotes. Some people get by while others get better.
Love it. Who said that?
I think Coach McKillop is everything I said. Every quote I know is from Coach McKillop because he used to speak in quotes. He used to speak in sound bites. But yeah, he said that, and I've kind of coined the phrase. So yeah, that's my favorite quote ever.
Brilliant. Best sporting event you've been to, and you pick one as a fan and one as a player.
As a player, it was playing in Cameron Stadium against Duke. Well, that's probably up there with we actually beat North Carolina my freshman year. We beat
Wow.
in the Dean Dome. And when you go in the Dean, like Cameron is just a little like if you've ever been to Cameron, if anybody's ever been to Cameron, Cameron is not as daunting as it looks like on TV. Like it's a small place. It's not this huge arena, but when you go to the Dean Dome, it's like so much Carolina blue that you almost feel like dizzy seeing the Carolina blue. And then you walk in there and you see like Michael Jordan's jersey up on the thing and James Worthy, and it's just like, yo, what is this? So that was pretty special. And I kind of grew up a Carolina kid. Like I love North Carolina kind of growing up. Um so yeah, that was probably my favorite as a sporting event as a player. And then as a spectator, um I got to see Michael Jordan play for the Wizards, which was pretty cool. Just seeing Jordan, and then like actually yesterday I got to see Luka play, and I got to get really close up to see him working out. Like, I say this to everybody. Like my favorite part of being the Irish senior or the assistant coach is just getting to see people come in and during the warm ups what they do, like what their routine is. So seeing Luka come out and do his little dynamic stretching routine and go out and just shoot his step backs and do the same thing we see him do on a nightly basis, just seeing it close up and being right beside that, like it was pretty surreal yesterday.
Wow. Speaking of gyms and tough places to play, what was the toughest gym or team to play against in the Super League?
Super League, Mary for sure. And when they played in Moore, that little orange ass court, man, you don't even know what planet you're on, right? And then they always play the whitest of music to make you not get hyped in the warm up. And I know it's on purpose. I know it had to be on purpose. Not one rap song. It was the worst place I ever played. I was so happy when they moved to Kingfisher. And then they moved to Kingfisher last year and they still kicked our ass.
Because I thought you would have said Tralee because the atmosphere. Because I'm at this season, I have to go down and just see what it's like. What it was
Nah,
not.
Tralee is cool to play in. Tralee, that's fun because it's all fans. They just, you know what I mean? Like, if you break somebody's ankles, even from the opposing team, they still gonna be like, ooh, like that's love. That's fun. Marie, where there's only like 50 people there and they ready to chop your head off, like that's hard.
Question 3: what's been the biggest setback or challenge in your career, and how did you react to it?
Biggest setback or I think okay, so when I was in seventh grade, I was like the man. I was like the man. Like when we played the youth league in sixth grade, this is when I'm like 11, 12. I averaged like 30 points a game. So going into middle school, which is like the equivalent of first year here, it's like seventh and eighth graders play together on the school team. And so I was a lock and everybody was like, oh, we can't wait to see you play, Puff. And I tried out for the team, did my thing. And this is like the first time when the names are like up on the list in front of the whole school. And I go to it and I'm not on the final list. And it was like soul crushing, man. It was like, that was the hardest thing I ever had to go through, was that all the girls were there looking at it, like seeing what boys were on the list, and I wasn't on the joint. And I was just like, God, like, so yeah, so it was like, if I'm really going to be a basketball player, like, this is it. This is the turning point. So that was the roughest part of my sporting career ever, I think.
Brilliant. What's been your biggest achievement on or off the court?
My biggest achievement. Hey, to be seen, man. I don't think it's happened yet. I think I'm gonna get to work with a lot of special players, and I've had so many achievements there. I think my personal achievements, like any national cups or awards that I've won or golden balls that I've won, it's like means nothing in comparison to getting like Lucy Coogan to give me her national team jersey after she makes that, or seeing Jack Keogh hit a step back three that I know we've worked on 1,000 times. You know what I mean? Or seeing these kids, like seeing Ash Morin just strap somebody full court, knowing that like we've had these workouts where I'm just making her dog somebody out. You know what I mean? And not saying that I was the reason for that success, but knowing that I had a hand in that success, it means a lot more to me than any other things that I've done myself.
Brilliant. Question 5. Looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Do more fun stuff, man. Like sometimes it's okay to go to that party. Sometimes it's okay to go to the family birthday. Sometimes it's okay to escort your wife to a wedding. So do that. When you go to these countries, go and see the sights. Don't just lock yourself in the gym. Like, human, man. Go and be a that is cultured and that is not just a basketball player, for sure. Go and experience life a little bit more.
Good advice. Question 6. Who would be your dream dinner guest and why? And I have to change the question because everyone just gives me multiple people. So if you want, just throw in as many as you want.
Nah, my Kobe will be mine. But and I feel like I've actually been to dinner with Kobe because I've listened to every interview. I've heard every perspective that he ever attacked anything with or talked about. But I just want to talk about, like, what happens when your family feels so isolated that, like, how did you continue just going to the gym? Like, what was it? I want to pick his brain on. And then after he left basketball, like, how did it seem so easy for him? Like, it was all you knew from such a young age. Like, how did you do it so seamlessly? Like, it would definitely be Kobe.
Before I let you go, if your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
This would be called Leveling Up.
Okay.
Leveling
So we
Up.
haven't seen anything yet, is it?
Nah. Puff as a player is gonna be faint in comparison to whatever else I end up being. I think, and I miss it, and I'm trying to, I'm trying to progress and get away from just being Puff as the basketball player, and that's very hard because that's come to characterize who I was for the last 25, 26 years of my life. So now it's kind of trying to take all the things that I've learned and lessons I've learned from basketball and pushing me to a new era. And it's going to be involved with basketball, but it just won't be as a player. So
okay, very good. If there's anyone listening that wants to reach out or get a workout in, what's the best place to find you?
Well, I'm terrible at returning calls, so don't call my phone or text my phone. But like Instagram, I'm on Instagram a lot. So if you just go to @whynotme5, I will try my best. There's no promises because I'm terrible. I am, and I admit it, and I'm sorry. Orla's probably invited me to the podcast 30 times. I probably missed the message. But hit me on Instagram and I'll try to get back to you. And if I can't work you out because of the scheduling or whatever, I'll work out something that I can help you get better for sure. That's a promise. I'll promise to that.
Okay, brilliant. Puff, thanks a million for coming on again and best of luck with everything going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much, Orla.
Massive thank you to Puff for joining me on the podcast today. Be sure to let us both know if you got something from the episode. I'll be sure to leave all of his social media links in the description box below if you'd like to reach out to him about training or just a general basketball question. As always, if you are enjoying the episodes, please do leave a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it does help the show grow. And don't forget to check out our Instagram page at The Sideline Live for more.